Please be aware, in this podcast series we talk about all areas of safeguarding, which some people may find upsetting. So please make sure you're okay listening to today's topic. Be mindful of those around you, such as children, that you might not want to listen in. Hi, I'm SSS Safeguarding Director Sam Preston.
And I'm former head teacher and content author Sarah Spinks.
Welcome to Safeguarding Conversations, the podcast where we take a closer look at the issues shaping safeguarding practice in schools and education settings today. Each episode, we step back from the headlines to ask what they really mean for the adults responsible for keeping children safe in classrooms, corridors, and increasingly online. Sarah, this feels like one of those moments where safeguarding guidance has finally caught up with what children are actually experiencing.
Yeah, it really does, Sam. It does. And that's reflected directly in KCSIE 2025, keeping children safe in education. So for the first time, AI-generated abuse is explicitly recognised as a safeguarding risk, not just a theoretical one.
And that's important because over the last year, we've seen multiple cases in the news involving AI-generated sexual images of children.
Yeah, and KCSIE 25 is very clear on this. It states that sexual abuse can include both physical and non-physical acts, and that online abuse, including the creation of or sharing of sexual images, is a safeguarding harm regardless of how the image is produced.
So even if the image is AI generated, even if it's technically fake, the safeguarding response should be real and immediate.
Exactly. So the guidance is clear that harm, distress, coercion and exploitation are the threshold, not whether the image started as a photograph.
So one of the things that we're seeing is that, a lot of this abuse is peer-on-peer. And KCSIE 2025 explicitly places this within the child-on-child abuse, including sexual harassment, sexual violence, and online exploitation, which means schools can't treat it as technology misuse or bullying.
No, they can't. The guidance is very firm that child-on-child abuse is a safeguarding issue first, and disciplinary processes must never replace safeguarding action. So KCSIE also warns against minimising harm just because children are the perpetrators.
Yeah, it reminds schools that children who abuse others may themselves be vulnerable, but that this does not reduce the need to protect the victim. So, say if we can, let's now talk about what this means for designated safeguarding leads.
Well, KCSIE 2025 places a strong emphasis on professional curiosity, a phrase we talk about a lot, Sam, especially where harm is emerging through new technologies. So when a DSL hears it's an AI image or it's not real, that shouldn't close the conversation. Quite the opposite. KCSIE, expects DSLs to ask who created it, why this child, who has access to it, what power or control is being exercised.
And crucially, how is the child feeling?
Exactly. So KCSIE 25 repeatedly stresses that the child's voice, experience and emotional well-being must remain central, even where there has been no physical contact.
Another area of KCSIE is very explicit is recording. So KCSIE makes it clear that all safeguarding concerns must be recorded, even where there is uncertainty about legality. And schools are reminded, of course, not to investigate themselves.
Correct. The guidance reinforces that staff should never view, download or forward sexual images, including AI-generated ones, and that concerns must be passed immediately to the DSL.
And depending on the circumstances, that may involve children's social care, the police, or both.
Yeah, and KCSIE is very clear that fear of getting it wrong should never delay referral.
Yeah. It also strengthens expectations around online safety education, doesn't it, Sarah?
Yeah, it really does. Schools are expected to ensure that pupils understand image manipulation, consent, coercion, and digital sexual harm, not just traditional online safety messagings.
Yeah. And of course, filtering and monitoring systems are expected to reflect the current risks.
Well, definitely. KCSIE explicitly links safeguarding to effective filtering and monitoring and warns schools not to rely on outdated assumptions about what children are accessing or creating online.
What strikes me, though, is that AI hasn't changed safeguarding principles.
No, KCSE reinforces the same fundamentals.
Absolutely.
Listen to children, act early, don't minimise harm, and escalate concerns.
I think what we need to take on board is it's just changed the form abuse can take, isn't it?
Absolutely, and KCSIE is clear. If a child is distressed, threatened, sexualised, or silenced, safeguarding thresholds are already met.
And that's whether the image was made by camera, phone, or an algorithm.
Yeah, because abuse doesn't have to be real to be devastating.
Yeah, and safeguarding responses must be just as real, Sarah.
Absolutely. KCSIE 25 doesn't ask schools to be technology experts, but it does expect us to recognise harm when we see it and to act.
And in the age of AI, that expectation has really never mattered more. So thanks for listening to Safeguarding Conversations. Please do give us a like and a share. It really does help. You can find our podcast back catalogue on the SSS Learning website, and I hope you'll join us for the next in the series.